Stacy here with the traveling crew, and we're about to head out. Whether you're someone who likes to throw a few things in a bag, hit the road, or someone like myself who likes to prepare, here are some things not often talked about. Obviously, there are plenty of videos one could watch talking about how to prepare for a trip coming up. The clothing, the over the counter medications, the prescriptions, the TSA sized items you would need if you're flying, all of that exists. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things you may not be thinking about or may have forgotten, and you don't want to do that on your way to the destination. If you are a homeowner, first thing you want to do is inform your neighbors, the ones you trust, not the sketchy ones, that you're going to be gone. Let them know how long, let them know what to expect. If you have someone coming over, who that person is, what kind of car they drive, so that way they can say, oh, that's expected, not an issue, not somebody breaking in, call the cops. Obviously, that could create a whole different scenario. Make sure that everyone is aware that someone will be here. One of the other things I do is also print out some information of where I'm going, how to reach me if I can be reached. If you are in the sea, in the middle of the ocean, you can't reach somebody, what to do in case of something. I also like to set some parameters. If I leave a light on, please don't call me. If my house burns down, here's what to do. That way, the neighbor or the person watching over the place does not have any kind of issues. It's a little empathetic, but put yourself in their shoes if something were horrible to happen. I call catastrophic. It's also good if you have somebody watching your place to familiarize them with your place, meaning where is the shutoffs for the water, where is the fuse panel, what to do if the alarm goes off and the police show up. If you have code words or if you have some security, make sure that they're aware of all of that. Even inform the security company that you are leaving and someone is watching your home so that no one has a bad experience regarding just trying to help you out and watch the place. Make sure your mail carriers or mail department knows that you are gone. If you have somebody there, it's not that big of a deal. But if your mailbox starts getting filled up and you've got 7 newspapers on the front porch, guess what, folks? They know you're not home. It would be good to make sure that those things are collected or moved or at least placed somewhere or not even delivered. If you have pets, make sure the pets are taken care of. If they need to be boarded or put into a kennel, something, that they are all vaccinated and ready to go. You can't do some of that stuff right the next day. This has to be done months in advance. So make sure that that type of stuff is being done prior to your vacation. One of the other things is to remember any highly sensitive documents, items that you don't want someone going through, rooting through, are put away, locked away safe, placed in an off-site location in case you do have people coming over, in case you do have a situation where anyone comes into your home, they can't get access to that. Clean the place up. That's something we've always done, is just make sure the dishes are done, the house is dusted, the floors are clean, the bed, the sheets are changed, so when we come back home, we don't have to do those type of things on top of unpacking and just trying to relax from a vacation away, whether it's a couple of days or a couple of weeks or even a couple of months. If you're a renter or somebody who does not own the property, you may want to inform the property owner or the property manager you will be gone to verify if there's anything they want done. i.e., set the thermostat at this certain level. Please shut this off. Washing machine water is very, very common that you do turn that off prior to leaving if you're going to be gone for any extended amount of time. That way they know, or you know, and everyone knows that it's all done. Also, if you do have somebody checking on those properties, let them know any kind of gate codes or keyed entry, those codes or entry methods. Make sure that they are also on record to be on the property so that way any security or law enforcement doesn't have to be involved and make an awkward situation. When it comes to emergency contact, anyone watching your property, friends, family, in case something happens, just go over what you would like them to do. Also, make sure that they have ways of contact, not only yourself, but also who else in case they can't contact you. Consider info cards. I pass those out. Consider emails, text, some way of letting them know, some way of them having access to that information later down the road, not right at that moment. Be cautious of social media. I have seen where people post, I leave on this date at this time for this amount of time. You're basically telling the entire world or anyone with access to your social media when you won't be home. Be careful when you're doing that. Always make sure that folks are aware that if you're going, sometimes you don't want them to know exactly when. I sometimes post things after I've returned, or I be relatively vague about when the travel is going to occur. If you're driving somewhere, make sure your vehicle is prepared. Tires are inflated properly, fluid levels are topped off and ready to go, oil changes are done. Make sure you have jumper cables, a jumper pack. Make sure you have any sort of emergency equipment put in there. Think about it this way: if your car or vehicle breaks down, it's not going to be next to the auto center. It's typically going to be at the most inopportune time where you possibly will not have access to any kind of cell phone or even help somewhere. And you don't want to spend a couple of hours in the middle of nowhere with your car not running, no heat, and it's very cold. So make sure you're prepared for those things and make sure your vehicle, all the people know what to do in those situations. Your documentation, if you need them. If you're going on a cruise, if you're traveling via air, that you have all your documentation in place ready to go. When we talk about this, I'm talking about insurance documents for your vehicle. Make sure those are up to date. You want to make sure you have your driver's license and your passport. I tend to go a little overboard and make copies of those, and I keep those copies in a file with me, not in my luggage. So that way, if I happen to lose something, if something happens to be pickpocketed or something happens to go missing or misplaced or forgotten or left somewhere, I do have backups that can at least get me to the next step of what I need to do to make sure I can replace those items. Other documentations, birth certificates. Folks, if you are traveling through the TSA or on a cruise, make sure you're aware of what's required. A lot of those do not allow for copies of birth certificates. They have to have an original, they have to be embossed, or they have to have a stamp or even be notarized. Some won't even take notarization. So make sure that you're very clear with your travel on what is required with your documentation. With all your documentation, make sure that is with you or readily handy, i.e., again, not locked away in a bag, checked on an airplane, checked on a cruise ship where you can't get to it. You want to have it ready to go in a backpack, over the shoulder bag, a purse, even possibly just carried on in your hand. Very, very important. A lot of times people forget, and that also, if you're going out of the country, applies when you come back in. Just make sure you have that available so it's not somewhere and you're stuck waiting on a customs agent and trying to get things done. It holds up the line. It's no bueno. Digital check-ins, hotels, air travel, cruise ships, if applicable. Make sure all that's done prior to or on the dates of that it's required. Don't think you can just jump up, get up in the morning, and boom, 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 and go. A lot of times these things have to be done prior to or at certain times on a timeline. Get that stuff done. Uh, Best thing I can advise, put yourself together a checklist. That way you can do the check when it's required and verify that it's done. I always verify or double check all of my planned excursions and side trips and reservations to not only hotels but also to restaurants. Uh, Traveling, what I mean is cabs, Ubers, car services. Verify all of those reservations are still in place. That way I'm ready and I'm not stuck somewhere or I don't show up and they're not expecting me or they say, sorry, we don't have this for you. Electronics is also important. If you bring your laptop, if you bring your iPads or your tablets, if you bring your phones, if you bring cameras, if you bring handheld gimbals or balancing items, that you have all the chargers, power cords, battery packs. They're ready to go. They're fully charged. Everything is ready to go. Even maybe having some backups just in case. It is no fun finding yourself in a store in some foreign country paying 3 to 4 times as much to replace a power cord that you somehow damaged or forgot. Make sure you're ready for those. Again, going back to that checklist. And speaking of checklist, there are plenty. You can download them. Some cost money, some don't. I tend to write my own. And that is something I do because I can add or remove from that checklist based on where I'm going, how long I'm going to be gone, what needs to be on that checklist, and then I can make sure that it's done. I tape one to the back of the door we leave from to verify before I leave that's done, that's done, that's done. And I take that with me before I walk out the door and walk my entire property. I walk my home. I make sure I double check and triple check everything is prepared. The coffee maker is turned off. All power sources, the ghost power stuff is powered down. The water is shut off where it needs to be so we don't have burst pipes. The thermostat is set correctly. And when I leave, I put it back on the door and know that it's done. And I put it on the outside. Well, I leave from a garage, so I put it on the outside of a garage door. So when I open the garage, I walk back in. I know those things are done when I get back from vacation. But most importantly, folks, no matter what, whether you prepare, you throw things in a bag and head out, just make sure you have fun. Vacation prepping should not be stressful. It should make your vacation go as smooth as possible. Hopefully, you get some tips, some pointers, some things you may or may not have remembered or forgot. And obviously, enjoy, and I will see you soon.